Yeah, so here in the studios, Hamza Lawal and Kolawole Johnson. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you. The 1st of March, 2023, historic day for him, the president-elect, his vice president-elect, his party, his supporters, and by extension, the country. How does this day fit for you? I mean, how would you describe your experience in this day? Let's start with you, Hamza.
Well, it's a big deal for my generation as a young person, because what this means is we'll have a lot of story to tell, because we take the message from the older generation to the next generation and for our country. Even with all the tension, even with all the grievances, I think that we must continue to move forward as a nation. We must learn. We must take, hopefully at some point when the dust settles, we must reflect and learn. How did we fare? Where did we get it wrong? Where did we get it right? How can we do better as we go into another election cycle in another 4 years?
How does this speech of his, this second one particularly, even though, yes, you may reference the first one, how does the second one contribute to any of what you said?
Well, the second one is him appealing to the opposition to say that, yes, I might have been declared winner, and to their supporters who have felt or who had hoped that it is their own supporter or candidate would have stood where he gave that speech. But to him, what I understood was we must consolidate. We must put aside our differences. We must find a way to work together and probably also put Nigeria first before anything else.
Mr. Johnson, how does this resonate with you today?
He gave the departure from the campaign period. Now, he knows he's no longer the candidate of a party, president-elect of the nation, who should appeal to everyone, regardless of where you come from, regardless of where your terms went to, during the election. He knows that, judging from the figures, it's the first time you have a president winning the election, a president-elect without more than 50% of the total vote. It's just about 30-something%. He knows that. If you sum up the vote of the opposition, it's much more than what he has, showing that those who voted for him are, much more, way off from those who voted for the opposition. And he knows that to have a country, you need everybody together. You need the majority. And so he needs to appeal to that majority, and that is what he's doing exactly. And again, I think his supporters must go ahead to ensure that you don't taunt. It's not a time to taunt people. Oh, we won. Oh, you lost. You've lost. No, I think.
Did you get a sense of that anywhere?
No, he is not doing that. Oh. I said his supporters.
Yeah, did you?
We should appeal to them. No, okay. See, we are on the social media. Yeah. The banter is ongoing. If the leader is taking the position of let's make peace, the supporters too should do the same to ensure that as much as possible we bring the people together, because don't forget that regardless of the stage that we are, the process itself, there are complaints about the process, and as long as that is still standing, the people are angry, regardless of the fact that what we saw from the research by Young Africa, 7%, 2%, 5%. It does not represent a widespread, but the people would not take that because they saw some, even if it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, as long as there are some things that are tainting the process, they feel no. We should be where this man is today. Without knowing that, you need the data to calculate whether, regardless of those things, whether you be there or not. So you need to appeal to them to ensure that they don't take this against the system. We need Nigeria as one. We need peace in Nigeria, and that is what he's preaching. For me, it's a good speech, the first and the second.
Let's bring in Professor Ademola Abbas. He is of international law and a global affairs expert. Good evening, Professor Abbas. Thank you for joining us on the 2023 verdict today. So tell us, having listened to his speech, how does today resonate with you?
As the two previous speakers said, there are a lot of things to take away from the speech. I think it was a great speech, especially that the second speech is made in a space of a few hours after he was declared as the president-elect, as Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, for me, certain things actually jump out at me. Is the consistency in the way he focused in the previous speech, the first speech, and the second one on the youths. I think he realizes that the youths actually have a huge grievance with his campaign or with him in person or with the way APC, has called. So he realized that, and that is very, very, it's a remarkable thing to do, to say, look, I know, he said, I feel your pains and I feel your yearnings for good governance. That is very important. Number two is the fact that he said something when he was talking in the second speech. He said, apart from, he talked about gender, a woman coming, a younger person coming, which is still emphasizing the same thing. But then he went on to say that he looks forward to the day when somebody from a tribe that, maybe people have written off or something like that will become a leader in this country. That is a remarkable, sort of reference to make. And again, that's an acknowledgement that he does understand the varieties and shades of opinions that exist in our body politic in terms of, oh, this tribe, that tribe, and this, that. We can't run away from that 2023 elections probably were some of the most almost ethnically entrenched campaign that was ever run in this country. I think I've been following elections since 1979, down to 83 and down. So it was good for him also to recognize the fact that, you need to do that. Then he reached out, and that is very important, to the other parties, other candidates, by saying, look, the road has been long, we tread it, the battle has been hard, we won it, but here, I am just one person. I need the entirety of all of you to join me, because now we have to stop, tearing ourselves apart. We are all Nigerians. It's now time for us to move forward and to begin to put proper building blocks for the foundation of a truly remarkable and solid country. And so for me, it's all those things coming together. It's the youth, it's recognition of the fact that, the youths who are, need to be assuaged, and I'm hoping it's going to do that. And you remember, I think I had an interview here about 4 weeks ago when I was asked a question. I'm just bringing that one to this. When somebody was asking me what kind of president was I looking for. And I remember my answer straight away then was, I'm looking for somebody who could bring in the best team, together to govern the country. And I think we have this opportunity now. This is the time for the best and the brightest Nigerians to step to the podium and help it doesn't matter whether you are from Labour Party, you are from PDP, you are from APC, MPP, whatever you are from. That was party politics is gone. Now is to build a nation. Everybody must come together. And I think that speech, the second speech, just like the first speech, speaks to that. And I think that's for me what I took away from it.
Okay, it's very difficult to hear what is going on there. So it's difficult to make out if it is a protest or it is a celebration going on in Ekiti, because you can see clearly that the people in Ekiti were holding the symbols of the All Progressives Congress, and the All Progressives Congress won in Ekiti. So there'll be questions as to...
They've got smiles on their faces.
They have smiles on their faces. So it's very difficult to say that that is a protest. But clearly what is happening at the Unity Fountain certainly looks like a protest. The placards they're carrying are certainly not ones that are smiling. They're expressing what it is that they're feeling. They might not be saying anything or chanting, but that's what we see. And it does appear that the president-elect made reference to people who might be unhappy. If we could just see the visuals from the Unity Fountain so we can make this particular question to our guests who are right here in the studio. I look at this when he talks about, he says, political competition must now give way to political conciliation. I know some candidates will be hard put to accept the election results. It's your right to seek legal recourse. What is neither right nor defensible is for anybody to resort to violence. Any challenge to the electoral outcome should be made in a court of law and not in the streets. So this also formed part of his comments. The thing right now is, can you really stop people if that is how they're choosing to express themselves? Can you stop them from, having the kind of gatherings which we're currently seeing at the Unity Fountain? Let me come to you here, our guest in the studio.
It's difficult to stop the energy of the youth. I think this is one thing I've been saying, that we need to moderate. See, one thing the media will do much more now is to set proper agenda for public discourse. First, you tell the news, then, secondly, to set the agenda, you need to focus, or we need to focus discussion on the emphasis, where should be, what we should be talking about now. And these are the things that would actually, I think, douse the tension. Prof said something, I think it's germane. The youth, what they want is good governance, regardless of who is there. For them, they think someone else represents this that they want, be able to bring this. But if you're able to assure them that this man can put together, by his track record, the best of team, you can scan the polity, the likes of the VP, the likes of Fashola, the likes of Mamora, the likes of Bernard Kabweze, the best of brains. He will always be able to bring them together. And if we keep assuring the public that, come, regardless of the process, we are not foreclosing the fact that the court is there and the people, will go to court and the court will have the final say. But even this man will be able to bring you what you want if we give him the terms and the support, just like he is asking for. And if we're able to promote this conversation, it is possible that they will see, maybe they will see this from a different view entirely. Remember, they sit on the social media where all manner of junks fly around. It is possible for them to make the right decision with this. So to stop them in what they consider as, a stake in their future will be difficult, except you reassure them with the hope, just like, they brought out a Renew Hope. They need to sell that Renew Hope much more to the people.
Okay, just to go back to that event at the Unity Fountain, which you're getting to see now. So we'll get to listen to what was said properly, and then we'll take it from there.
No more election rigging. No. This particular election will be challenged through the democratic means, with our level of agitation at the same time in the court of law. But as we do that, this particular congregation is happening around the 36th state of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yes. To count and demand that the election that took place on the 25th of February should be presented to the Nigerian people. We are saying too, we have proof that votes were being allocated to states. Do not be under any illusion. What you saw that we won election in Lagos was a fluke. What we won in Lagos was more than 500,000 people. We won above 900,000. And at the same time, the point was allocated for Kano so that will cool the temper in Kano that the election was won by Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. He won more than that in that particular state. The allocation was also done in Katsina, where they allocated the same amount to Atiku in order to cool the temper down. But the fact is that we are no fools. They allocated the election to themselves where they can have overriding influence. But today we have unplugged their plan. We are saying that we are going to resist this continuously. We are not going to stop until Peter Obi, who won this election, is being returned as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is our mandate, and we will continue to pressure that this particular election that is under sham, those who have mortgaged and murdered our election must be investigated. We are calling for full audit of the election result that has already been published by INEC. We have our authentic result. Until that is done, we are calling on all Nigerians not to sit at home. Stand up in your house. Resist this particular blue murder until Nigeria is being returned to the right path. Nigeria deserves more than this.
Yunusa Tanko, one of the spokespersons of the Labour Party's Presidential Campaign Council. Well, Hamza, what do you make of this? Because, I mean, I even saw some CSO paraphernalia or tags or at least signboards there. But from what they're demanding, what do you think?
Well, first, this is democracy. You must allow people to air their grievance. You must allow them to talk, to grieve. You must allow them to dialogue. And I think most importantly, we must have a conversation. So for me, and if you listen to them, people are not aggrieved with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the president-elect, or his vice president-elect. The grievance is from INEC. See, a lot of people had put a high hope on INEC because of the process that INEC had promised the Nigerian people. One, you said you were going to introduce beavers. That's technology device. Two, you promised that you were going to upload results to the IREV system that citizens can have access to in real time. And of course, INEC had tested it in 2 or 3 off-season elections, Ekiti or Osun elections. Before midnight during Ekiti and Osun, they had already uploaded the entire result. So this entire grievance is because of the process that INEC did not follow. And of course, there's a threshold for when you look at an election based on the process. And you know, before now, even when we launched USABI, we told the Nigerian people, we're not keen about the results. Someone would be declared a winner. But for us, we want to follow the process so that the integrity of the institution and process will be upheld. And so that this kind of protest would not, we wouldn't see this kind of protest in the outcome. So everyone was looking up to INEC. And of course, because of the resources that was released to INEC, we all knew we had an election 4 years before now. Dates were set. INEC, we had a 2022 Electoral Act. So civil society worked with the media and went to the National Assembly and got the act amended, and Mr. President signed it. INEC released the guideline for this election. But INEC faulted her own guideline. Yes, the chairman can argue and did argue that even if the result was not uploaded, the process cannot be halted. Fine. But this is about principle. This is about keeping your word. What are you without your word? What are you without gaining public trust and leading a very critical institution at a particular time? So for me, I think there was also a communication deficit or gap. Mind you, before coalition even resumed yesterday, apprehension was already building, tension was already building. You cannot conduct an election and keep a room for speculation. No, it is uncalled for, and that is why now we have series of conspiracy theory. But again, people are not agreeing with the president-elect. They only agree with INEC. And INEC must address this. And now it's timely, because if you don't address this, then what you're doing is you're allowing a room for people to claim illegitimacy in the process. Yes, in as much as we will all say everyone should go to the judiciary, we also know that the judiciary is on trial. You know, what is the public perception of the judicial process? Again, for me and my organization, of course, you know I'm a street general. We like protesting, we like rallies. But you see, Nigeria cannot afford any other protest. We don't want to go back that dark time. And we also, you know, what happened to a few young people and how people lost their lives. And of course, some of us have not slept for over 7 days. Our security personnel, some of them have not slept for 2 weeks. They're already overstretched. So, again, these issues must be addressed, and INEC must rise to the occasion. Mind you, we have an election in less than 11 days. So if you don't address this issue, what will now happen is we'll experience voter apathy as we go into the election.
Let's take this over to Professor Bass. Professor Bass, this, what's happening here, the speech from the president-elect, one of the things he said there had to do with, if I may read directly, he said, to the young people of Nigeria, for some of you, Nigeria has become a place of abiding challenges. And what Hamza has said here talks about Hamza was basically focusing on the process and how the young people are reacting to the process, not necessarily the result. And if you might weigh in on that bit, the outcome, how would it weigh on the youth, on the young people of Nigeria? Going by the president-elect's statement and his request for the young people to come in, and what you said earlier about him being able to build the team required to move this nation forward.
Thank you very much. Well, let me start by saying that, look, just as the previous speaker said, the youths, other Nigerians have a right to protest. The Constitution of this republic guarantees you freedom of expression. So if you have whatever grievances, feel free to air your grievances. So it's part of the democratic tenets that we're building anyway, that guaranteed in our Constitution. So there's nothing extraordinary or strange in people coming together and saying, look, I disagree with the process this took place. But we must make a dichotomy here. And I'm making that dichotomy because we have to separate between people saying, I don't agree with this process that produced the result, even if I have no problem with the result. And people saying, I don't agree with this process because it produces a result that I don't agree with. They're two different things. In the US, before the elections were cast, Donald Trump came out and said that if I don't win, I will not accept the result. Now, when he lost and he began to protest, how do I see that particular protest? But it's a different thing, and there were glitches also in the own process, mind you. If there were glitches and he came out and said, because there were glitches, I have a problem with the process. So let's make a distinction between the two. So people were genuinely saying, and I was there just a few days ago, and I did say also that what INEC did was inexcusable. And I took a departure from those who are actually engaging in kind of self-congratulation with INEC, that you can't put a pat on back for yourself as INEC. You had 4 years. From today, they just shut down this center in Abuja. From today, the process of planning for the next 4 years must start. You have resources, you have time, you have experience, you have precedents where you are coming from to know certain challenges were going to be there anyway. So there is no excuse on the part of INEC to say, oh, you know, this and that. But be that as it may, challenges were there. Beavers, there was no uploading when they should have uploaded and this and that. Now, there are channels, constitutional channels and legitimate channels to air those grievances. Take those grievances there. There's no problem with that. If you want to protest on the street, before you take the protest, again, there's no problem with that. So far, there's no violence. We cannot begin to contemplate that we must use violence to drive home our points. Now, having said that, and I'm happy that the president-elect did reflect, you know, a couple of times on the fact that the youth have, you know, a serious challenge with the process and with Nigeria today as a country. And not only the youth, I mean, I'm no longer a youth, but the truth is a lot of people do have problem with this country. We've witnessed a lot of japa, economic is meltdown. We are in a country today that you have money in bank, you can't take your money out. You know, it's in a complete, almost a complete chaos without exaggerating. So, and the youth are at the forefront. So the president-elect is absolutely right in focusing on them. And as the last speaker also did mention, that process must start, the process of healing, number one, on the part of INEC, must start with giving a far more credible and responsive and responsible election in 10 or 11 days' time. That is very, very important. That is one way of INEC saying, I want to actually try to redress part of the challenges that just went past. We need to do that. Then, should INEC then come out and address the nation? I think the Professor Yakubu had already done that to some extent in terms of giving his own views of why this didn't work, why that didn't work. But if anybody still have problems with that, there's no problem at all. We are in a democracy, and we must keep on entrenching our democratic values and tenets by saying, if I have disgruntlement or grievances, I will go to the court of law. I heard from the other speaker, I was saying that the judiciary, that they can go to judiciary, but the judiciary is on trial. Well, look, let us take a bit of chill pill in sometimes denuding, let me use that word, our institutions from certain values and this and that. I don't think there's any judiciary in the world or legislature that is perfect. But the truth is, that is the institution that our Constitution still says is the final arbiter and is the final hope of the common man. So my advice to my compatriot is that feel free to demonstrate your feeling, to display your emotions, but do it within the ambit of the law. It's a democracy. Your grievances you should channel at the end of the day to the court of law. What we don't want to see is a country that is further battered and further damaged by violence that we do not need at this point in time.
Well, we'll see how that, is internalized by different segments of the society, because we know that even where we will see protests, it might not always be against, say, the national elections. In different states, you might also get, pockets of protests here and there, as we're already beginning to hear is happening in a state like Kogi, where we understand that women are already coming out to protest against one of the senatorial results that has been declared. But right now, I think that a major bone of contention has been what happened with the IREV, the fact that INEC promised that as results were being concluded at the polling units, they were going to be transmitted via the beavers on the IREV, and anyone who was registered on that portal will be able to pull out the results from any polling unit they decided to, check out, and that didn't quite work out. But as we speak, the IREV is being populated. As of this afternoon, when we checked, it looked like over 140,000 results had, been uploaded onto the IREV. Do you think that this is too little, too late, or do you think that the situation can still be salvaged in terms of the transparency of these elections?
Well, thank you very much, Mark. I think that was a very brilliant question. If you go back to yesterday, I think, when the INEC chairman was talking, he did say, I remember, that by the time they upload the result, people could match the result that are uploaded with whatever they have issued manually. I think that is very important because at the end of the day, if the results do not match, then we can begin to say that, okay, what happened? Then we can begin to have issues with non-uploading of the result in time, in real time. That's number one. And that is because, look, I am not an engineer. I'm not a technology expert. But I do know one thing. I mean, for some people who have had the opportunity of living even in some of the most developed technologies in the world, you do have glitches. And in the session I participated in about a couple of days ago, I think on Sunday, the day after the election, and we did mention at that point in time that, yes, they use beavers in Ekiti, in, Osun and other elections as a trial. But this was the first time we were using beavers on a national scale. Even in countries with the most technologically advanced system, they will have problem when you put a piloted version of such a thing on a global scale. How much more our country that we are still trying to look at our our cashless policy, for instance. I am sure, apart from the whole political, whatever political reasons was behind it in terms of maybe not vote by or vote by, nobody denies the fact that cashlessness is the way we have to go. But do we have the technology? The answer is, at this moment, no. Because the technology for cashlessness is not only the banks. You have the comms industry and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying in essence is that, whether we are going to say whether, uploading the result now, is a little too late, might be a functionality of at what point they could have been doing it in real time. Did they have the resources to do it in real time when they promised to do it? Except they had those resources, and it could be proved that they had the resources to do it in real time, and they failed to do it. It might be very, very difficult to prove anything other than fortuity. And that is what I am looking at here. But beyond that is the fact that, look, INEC knows today and cannot pretend it's done a fantastic job as far as keeping his own words is concerned, whether you like it or not. INEC informed the country, told the country that the country should believe in it, that it was going to deliver this, and it failed woefully in one particular respect, that is in uploading the result. Now, I'm saying the reason for that might be genuine. The reason for that at that point in time might be lack of capacity, and it could be other things. But I am still giving INEC the benefit of the doubt. But I'm saying INEC now does have the opportunity to be able to remedy that, whether it is genuine or whatever, in the next coming election, which is just less than 2 weeks from now, to be able to do that. So in terms of whether it is too late, well, look, I think last speaker said something which I also accept, I've spoken about, is the fact that INEC is not communicating enough. And when there is no communication in time, rumors and imaginations will fill the gap. It's normal. We live in a country in which ethnic suspicions, let me say, ethnic suspicions on healthy rivalry have come to be part of our system. So if something is happening and somebody is not saying and explaining it in real time, there will be a problem. It could all be that INEC genuinely had problem in uploading this result. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that it could be that it had genuine, challenges in uploading this result on IREV, in time, in real time. But because INEC did not communicate it at all or effectively to the nation, it left a lot of room for people to begin to fill the gap with rumors and imagination. And you can't blame anybody for that. I just hope that INEC will have learned a bitter lesson from that and do something immediately and desperately to be able to instill confidence in Nigerians, especially the Nigerian youth, who, by the way, went out and for the first time voted massively in an election. We don't want to dash the hope of our youth in our polity. We don't want to dash the aspiration in our ability to conduct a free and fair election. And that is why we must do something immediately to assuage the feelings of our youth to be able to move our country forward.
Please stay with us as we continue in this conversation. Let me bring the conversation to our studios here. Hamzat, no, Hamzat's name just skipped my head for a moment, even though I was looking at him. I know that, you know, your code invested quite a bit in the Uzabe app, hoping to help Nigerians make sense of this as well. And I'm wondering, you know, now that the IREV is being populated, will you still be, you know, downloading the material from there to see, you know, whether or not it truly tallies?
Markwe, Uzabe was an alliance with civil society and the media. For connected development, we're not keen about the result. But as an accredited observer and in partnership with Dean Initiative Budget, who deployed Civic Hive, they deployed observers with our accreditation to all the 774 local governments wearing our tag as connected development. And in real time, they were taking pictures because as observer, we had access to the local government coalition center. They were taking pictures. And that was why, even when IREV was down, Civic Hive platform was still providing results, which became a big controversy and debate yesterday, you know, on the digital space. But you see, we're not trying to blame anybody here. My role is to hold INEC to account because I'm a taxpayer, but I'm also a civil society leader, to provide answers. See, and even if I'm focused on the BVAS and IREV, mind you also, Mark, a lot of us put our lives on the line. After we launched our situation room a day before the election, I went to Nasarawa, Niger State, and Plateau State, which was neighboring. Then I traveled to Kogi, where I actually vote. I cast my ballot in Kogi and observed the election across a few local governments. And on that same day, I drove down back to my situation room before I connected with you in the studio. So again, Mark, when you look at logistics, it was a nightmare. Yes, when I got to Kogi at night, midnight, I went to the local government and to get information if they've deployed the sensitive and non-sensitive material with ad hoc staff to the rack center. At that time, they were sorting. This was 11 p.m. They were still sorting. Yes, they got there in some places 2 a.m., 3 a.m., where the coppers slept. Now, the next morning, in some cases, from the rack center to some polling unit is less than 10 minutes. In some cases, 30 minutes. Some cases, 2 p.m., that's when they got there. So again, we're asking, was it that some people undermined the process? Who are these people? And why is it that INEC is not speaking? See, right now we're dealing with a country with trust deficit. So you cannot afford to keep quiet if there was an issue. So now, Mark, IREV was down, but Civic Hive was live. The resources INEC have, Civic Hive does not have 1/4 of that resources, 305 billion. If it was down, Mark, you would tell the Nigerian people. Besides, the INEC chairman has civil society roundtable every quarter with us. He also has security roundtable every quarter. Why didn't he call for an emergency roundtable meeting? Even if he does not want to go public, he should call media partners, civil society partners, and the security partners and say, our IREV is under attack. And I know there was a meeting where the chairman even, came public before the election that they've witnessed over 20 attacks.
That certainly will have implications for the entire process, wouldn't it? I mean, it certainly will have confidence issues, already. It's not like I said they don't exist already, but it certainly could. Doesn't it have the potential to derail the entire process, perhaps even leading to a postponement of the polls, which might be what whoever it is that, put it under attack might have wanted?
But you don't hide the truth. You cannot hide the truth. What is important, and Mark, where I'm trained is, you must always speak the truth, irrespective of what the situation is. And at that critical junction, And as a communication manager, you must at least provide some level of knowledge and information that would at least douse tension and rebuild back public trust and public confidence while the process continues. No one was saying the process should be halted. All the civil society organizations never supported, the positions of some opposition that this process should be halted.
So
but provide some level of knowledge and information in real time, because time was of essence at that moment.